that we stop calling ourselves by nouns. So you're not a researcher, you're a seeker of the truth. If you do that and stop giving nomenclatures to yourself, your syllabus will open up, your whole mind will open up. So I have stopped calling myself a songwriter because a songwriter is defined by other people. And then I have to live up to that meaning. So now I open my meaning out, I write songs. I don't know whether I'm a songwriter, therefore you can't judge me. I write songs. Are they good? Songwriters write good songs. I write songs. Is it good or not? I don't care. So it's very important to understand this. AI has taught us this, right? So the whole, I hope you understand that and you at least see yourself without these definitions that lock you down in your meaning, in your function, and the way you think. Okay, so that's important. Okay. So we talked about this heuristical biases and so forth, and cognitive biases. If you look at cognitive biases, you'll see there are so many of them. It's like really scary. Human beings are so flawed in our thinking, and human beings are the ones who are, programming AI. So you can imagine what's going to happen. This is a bit of a long video, but I think you should watch it because artists have talked about creativity and AI people who are doing creativity are telling you their perspective. Listen, I can't articulate it better than they can. The practitioners.
I was a little kid. I knew that I needed to be an artist. It was something I knew that I inherently am. Many artists like myself are just barely getting by. We do just because we love it because there's nothing else. And to have the results of our passion used against us and to replace us and displace us, it is astounding.
First time I used generative AI, it was kind of really crazy to me, like surprising. I didn't really know what to expect, so I just went down a really deep rabbit hole, like immediately, just seeing what kind of images it could make and everything that I could think of.
You can explore a range of different spaces, exploration, environmental characters that perhaps you never thought you could do before. They can explore all those infinite spaces in just a few seconds. And I think that's magical. That's something we never had the chance of doing before.
It really depends on who you, whether or not generative AI is going to totally supplant people that are currently making images, videos, films, things like that, or if it's just going to be another, say, tool in the toolbox. AI making art is not what we really wanted. Like, we wanted AI to take away drudgery, like having to do the dishes, so that we could make more art ourselves. AI has changed a lot over the years, but in the last few years in particular, it's changed so much. When people think about AI today, they often are talking about generative AI. Over a number of years, companies and individuals have improved generative AI systems so that they can produce images and videos, music as well. It's taken a long time to get here, but at this point, it's getting harder and harder to distinguish what is made by people from what is made by a computer.
Runway is a generative AI startup based in New York City. Cristobal Valenzuela and his co-founders started the company in 2018 to build a new AI tailored for filmmakers.
I think it's an idea when applied to filmmaking and art and design, also creative disciplines, provides an entirely new way of making things. It's really important that the way we do it is with an artistic mindset. We develop these models with the best possible framework to make them really usable in the context of creative presentation.
Whoever is fabulous. Can do things that you would never be able to do even with a huge budget.
First, like filmmaking.
I use Runway in my workflow by trying to combine it with things that I draw and just use Runway to basically make it move and, add camera movements or bring certain environments to life. Like, I really like to incorporate the human touch in a lot of what I do. So often I'll illustrate a creature or a character and then I'll try and put them in an environment. And then from there, we use Runway to basically just like play with it and move things around.
So imagine I went to the story that, and I'm still undecided on which world I want the story to happen. I think it would be great if I can basically do like, I want to be now an astronaut. Maybe something an astronaut. And I can look around and I'm in space, or maybe I'm an alien, I'm from another planet, and I'm transforming myself into a character. Maybe I'm just a different person from a different era. I can also see how I can use it to tell that story.
While some artists have embraced Gen AIs like Runway to create or assist in their workflow, the practice remains controversial for a number of reasons.
We've seen a lot in the current generative AIs. A lot of people have questions about where training data comes from in order to train generative AI. The real issue with intellectual property and generative AI is that all of the principles in intellectual property law say that if you create something, then you own it. It is your intellectual property. And generative AI companies have, largely ignored this long-standing legal guideline and have taken people's intellectual property, used it to train their models without consent and without paying for that privilege. And often the developers themselves don't know what's in these large data sets because they're just grabbing large data sets off of the internet. There are just a lot of places online where there are.
This is really the core of the ethical issue. Because AI grabs stuff without telling anybody anything. And now I begin to notice that at the bottom there's a small little thumbnail, button there. If you click it, it will tell you where it came from. What do you barely know?
And we can collect all of them, and there you go. We've got a huge training. Right now, it's still largely the wild, wild west when it comes to training data for AI systems. There are some things that artists can do if they don't want to be included in training data. For instance, they can use a program like Nightshade, which can sort of scramble their images in a sense when it comes to the training process. They can also try to opt out. Some companies are offering people a chance to do that. But these processes tend to put the burden on the creative worker. And the creative worker is going to say, well, hey, I don't have a ton of time or resources to do this myself. And also, why should I do this? There's machine learning, but there isn't really machine forgetting. You can't just tell an AI model to disregard something that's been trained on.
If the legal battle is taking place, tech companies claim that art that appears on the internet falls under fair use. Artists don't feel the same way and are grappling with what this technology might mean for the future of their practice.
I started to see generative AI showing up in my Twitter feed April 2022. First, I was intrigued. I didn't feel threatened by it, but I knew that those images could not have been created from nothing. I learned about a database that includes over 5 billion text and data image pairings that are basically like a giant scrape of the internet. Included in that, somewhere in those 5 billion images, are over 50 of my paintings. And because my art is in that data set, somebody can use my name as prompt and therefore use the data that came from those 50-something paintings. The culmination of my choices, the algorithm determines to create something, quote unquote, in my style, like a plagiarism slot machine. So it feels like a betrayal because a lot of artists like myself have careers thanks to putting our art on the internet, then put my art on the internet in good faith to build a following, to build recognition and brand awareness. As an illustrator, I want people to recognize my work and my style and think of me when a project comes along. I would not have the career I have if I had not been putting my art on the internet for 20 years.
Problem we're seeing now is that the generative AI companies have taken a lot of their copyrighted material and used it without consent and without paying for the privilege of using it. AI companies feel like they can get away with just taking all the data on the internet because this has been the practice informally for many years. Right now, there are a number of active cases targeting different media. So you have artists suing companies over AI generated images. There's a case involving generated music and video and also text from chatbots. So it's going to take quite a while for these cases to be resolved. They might also be resolved in slightly different ways, which could lead to different nuances in how things change as far as what companies can and can't do when they're building and training these systems. It's going to take some time.
Tech companies move quickly. The legal system, on the other hand, is slow. Many of the lawsuits against Gen AI companies have been going on for more than 2 years and are expected to go on for at least another 2 years before a ruling. In the meantime, generative AI companies argue their industry is providing creative tools to artists who didn't have them before.
The ability to make something that used to be very hard and expensive and inaccessible and makes it widely accessible to many more people. And so I think we're at the beginning of that change, the beginning of the moment where people are realizing that they can do what only Hollywood studios and maybe even small amounts of people in the world could do before. The common misconception is that people think that these models are acting as database. They're not database. They're creating that new content. That's why the analogy of being a student is so important. You can learn around the world, you can see things in the world, and then use that knowledge to create something completely new. I do think that AI will create a new form of art, a new form of media. And it might be the case that previous art forms might change because of that. And again, this didn't happen before. The camera changed how painters saw the world. AI will transform how we tell stories. And I think it's less of a gain or loss, kind of like much more about continuous transformation, which I think is the role of art. The role of art is to look around the world, and the role of art is to tell a point of view around the world using some sort of a medium. It's just an evolution of history and the overall evolution of art.
We do need regulation in a space now where we're drowned out just in a couple of years by synthetic images, synthetic data, music, words, writing. So we have to be able to differentiate what's human made and what isn't, because we also want to know where to put our money. We want to know what's real. We want to know what's fake news and what isn't.
I do think about, where everything is coming from to make these models. And honestly, that's why I always try and make it a point when I'm working with it to make sure I keep it as human as possible with, the things I bring into the workflow when incorporating AI. Just maintaining the humanity within use of this stuff is always just important in general when you're creating. Even before AI came along, I think it was always important for me to have some sort of really human touch resonating throughout the work.
What's happening is that by keeping the work of artists and not compensating them, AI companies are doing even more to eliminate artists' ability to make a living. And guess what? If you do that, you're not going to have artists anymore. Just like media companies have been starved almost out of existence, and we don't have a thriving journalism economy anymore. And that's bad for democracy. A world without art, it's not just bad for democracy, that's a world that nobody wants to live in.
So, disparity, the whole thing, and there's so much to be said from both sides. There is a theory that all creative ideas that are discovered already exist. We talked about this yesterday. It's an interesting theory because how can you discover something that doesn't exist? So the wheel that, the cave man first discovered, obviously it existed in the universe, but no one discovered it. And so yesterday we played a small video where somebody interviewed AI and asked, did we make you? And AI answered, said, yes, you made me, but how do you know you didn't make me? Because I made you make me. Right? And so this whole, it's not an easy answer. All creativity, let me put it this way, you cannot create something original because it doesn't exist. Everything that's created is inspired by something. I mean, if you did something that nobody recognized or understands, nobody would understand it, right? So that would be fantasy. But real creativity, things that people like, people are willing to engage with, are inspired by something or something that has been modified into something else. We just talked about that, right? So there's a lot to be said about artists saying somebody stole my work, but they were influenced by somebody else, we are influenced by them, and so on and so forth. So there is no easy answer to this. So moving on. This is just a position of what AI is, and this is Copilot says AI does not possess natural cognitive abilities such as intuition, creativity, empathy, and reflexes. Okay, so we just go past this again. Recently, Narayan Murthy and Nandan and Nilekani made the statement about humans and AI. Core human skills, interactions, empathy, collaboration, and learnability will remain indispensable. So there's hope for mankind, right? Others not lost. In your links, there is a link to Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences online. The reason why I'm asking you to do this is that traditionally, if you want to get into any university, these are the tests that you do, and invariably all of them are based on verbal, quantitative, and analytical skills. AI already has that. In fact, AI is very good at verbal, quantitative, and to some extent analytical. But intelligence, however, unfortunately, according to Howard Gardner, we may mention some examples. Steve Jobs, people, they were Stanford dropouts. So, they probably didn't pass the GMAT score. I failed my GRE 3 times. Finally, after I graduated from the University of Louisiana in communication and brainwashing. I did two things. My subject was brainwashing. I studied Roman Catholicism and found a correlation between Roman Catholicism and the traditional brainwashing done by the prisoners of war in Korea. And it's identical, both are identical. So there was nothing I had to say. I just had to find the data presented. And my professor was not very happy because they were only Catholic. But anyway, so I'm saying GRE, GMAT, all of these things. There is more intelligence in this. So I would like to take the Howard Gardner test. It will take you maybe about 10 minutes. It will give you the result online. It will also suggest to you, if you go further, to tell you how you could improve scores that are low. And it's important that you develop the other intelligences other than these three, which you probably will score very well. So do the test, it will take 10 minutes, and then you can keep those results and make notes from there on how you can improve your other skills to improve your creative intelligence. Yeah. So look for it, and it's an online test. It is self-grading. Yeah. If anybody cannot find it, please ask somebody, but don't not do it.
You can also Google Harvard Gardner test.
Yeah, but you have to find that it's a self-grading thing. There are many differences, but this one you can grade itself.
Oh, dear, I think I did.
Howard Gardner, it's one of the first ones.
No, it's not. It's the file that you shared.
Important things. What's it?
So you actually files yesterday. So we have a one.
So there's a whole bunch of things. Sharing. It's under important links.
Sharing.
Yes. Important links. engagement points. It's not.
And you have sure.
Let's make the all of it for debate. Yes. What's
Just share it.
Our class just. So, when you're answering this test, don't try to max it. Don't have that student mentality to goal mentality. Be honest, because no one is going to see it. You can't fail or pass. It's just to evaluate yourself. Okay, so don't try to second guess the answers. Sorry? Since Howard Gardner. Howard, right? Sorry? Okay.
Yes, I.
Yeah.
You have to be honest enough to see because
Yeah.
it's good, we are, you will see your scores. Yes. You want to. Help somebody and then you. अपना तो करना तो सबको है. You need. And
If you have any questions, you can ask me. Don't ask each other. Okay?
क्या है ट्रेन?
Yes. Right. What's that? What pictures?
Score money, which will insert every. Right. 1.5. So any other. It's value. They're having, it's okay. No, it's not seven. Seven? Yeah. So top three strength, they will.
It's thank you. Everything is thank you. Next page.
You want that? Yeah, but this is actually. Top three intelligence will be about it. Oh, you can change. You can stop with the weeks.
So, yeah, so then the rest. So you can look at it, how to explain.
So that's what. Top three intelligence. It will be different. Exactly. वैसे तो आता है
So is everybody done?
Yes. Exactly.
All right. So is it clear? It gives you some kind of feedback. It tells you about the strengths that you have, which means the rest you develop. If you go online, you can also search for whatever you're on Aladdin. Yeah, Aladdin, whatever. So. Yeah, I think it. Like a chat to them. So if you look here, you can't read very much from there. But basically, it's explained to you existential, for instance. Existential intelligence was something new that he introduced. It's about asking philosophical questions like why we were born, is there a God, and all kind of things, right? So these are, what should I say, exploratory kind of thinking, which has no real purpose and no real answer. It is exploratory. But that is the kind of mindset that looks and discovers new things by asking questions to which there are no easy answers. Okay, so the rest is just musical. If you're interested in pitch, tone, rhythm, sound, timbre, these kind of things. Naturalistic, and of course, when you go into the, you look at trees, you do crafting, you look at the caterpillar, you look at that. Biomimicry is a whole science by itself in which we learn how to design new things based on nature. Nature has already designed and solved all the problems, we just don't see it. If you look at, so analogies in creativity is one of the most powerful ways to design new things. Again, yesterday you missed, those of you who are not here of this visual analogies. So if you look at a walnut and you look at an egg, you can see a visual analogy there, right? One is used, both are used for protection. They're both protecting a kernel. The kernel has life. The seed has life. The egg has life. You look at a pregnant woman, you look at the same thing. You say it's round, it's got life, protection is there. So, I mean, when you look at nature, you look at the trees and you see the root system, they are like capillaries. The carburetor in a car is actually the heart of a human being. It was designed around the heart. And so if you look at it in the filter in the car, filters out the air, the lungs of the vehicle. So all of the ideas that we use today have been inspired by nature. Nature has already designed everything, right? But we don't see it. We go and look at the tree and we say, mango is not come. Then we go back, right? And that's it. But we have not learned how trees communicate. There's a whole science where trees communicate between their root systems. And that is a language by itself. So the more you have a nationalistic tendency, the more you can get design ideas. So everything, there are ideas everywhere. We just don't see it because we are not curious, we are not alert. Okay. So we talked about heuristics and how it's creeping into AI programming. Now, another thing is called remote association test. We don't have time to do it. It's called the RAT test. I've given you the link. Go and do it if you want. And this is how it works. It will give you 3 words that initially don't have any connect. But if you look really deeply, you'll see a connect between 3. So it's training your mind to look for patterns, pattern recognition, and how things connect with each other. So the link is with you. It's called the RAT test. Please go and do it. Unfortunately, it is a verbal test, which means if your language is not strong or if it's more like American English, you may not get some of it. So don't get too disheartened. But practice it just to train your mind to see links, like we're saying, like egg, mushroom, and condom. We can see the link, right? So train your mind to see how things are connected. And because you can borrow one concept for another concept, it becomes a third concept. Okay. So umbrella, right? Umbrella is protection, mushroom is a protection, helmet is a protection, but they have different kinds of end users. So do the RAT test on your own, for your own good. So these are just some of the thoughts about ethical AI. And we come back to the same thing, it's about human intent. If your intent is bad, no amount of, of rules is going to help you. This is a fantastic video by Stanford teacher, AI-powered creativity in just 30 minutes. Jeremy, I've not put 30 minutes, I've cut down the beginning part. So I've come down to the core of how he uses AI in the classroom and how AI is really helping. He's from Stanford, so I think it's worth listening to this carefully.
There's a quote I believe, it's always these moments when we're not really thinking about work. We're trying to do something else, a good idea. Winston Churchill, he's sitting in the back and he's dictating an national address to the system. And then the other room, she's saying, this is, ladies and gentlemen, that's how them distinguished. They're not distinguished. They're not distinguished, Dear ladies and gentlemen, we have gathered together, get to the point, and I'm watching going, I was as an assistant who understood my context and my voice and my intent well enough that I could sit in that and they could write my speech. Now, the poorest villager in Palo Alto can have what only Winston Churchill used to have, which is an assistant as my context and my voice and my intent available to me so that when I'm in the bathtub, I can be dictating my address. That is absolutely technically possible today. I'm Jeremy Utley. I'm an adjunct professor of creativity and AI at Stanford University. I've been teaching at Stanford for the last 15 years at the intersection of creativity, innovation, entrepreneurship, and now increasingly artificial intelligence. And the topic that I'm most focused on right now is helping non-technical professionals learn to be good collaborators to or with generative AI. 2 years ago, myself and my partner at the time, Terry Slate-Bond, wrote a book called Idea Flow, which is the canonical book on idea generation. Super proud of that. It's a culmination of a dozen years of leading executive programs, leadership programs, the entrepreneurship program at Stanford. And 1 month after our book came out, ChatGPT came out. To me, the fact that I wrote the canonical book on idea generation just prior to AI is like writing the best book on retail just before the internet. AI is a tool to dramatically augment and amplify our creativity, and the truth is, I didn't know a lot about it when the book came out. So 1 month after my book came out, instead of going on a world book tour, I shot myself back into the front row as a student and said, we need to be learning about this transformative technology. I started taking classes, I started conducting research, I started working with and studying these type of organizations using the tool to understand the simple question, how does generative AI impact the individual and the team and the organization's ability to solve problems? You can give an AI prompt. For example, how should I answer this question? Or, depending on the question, I wanted to ask how I should answer this question. What's the best way of giving that question to an AI? So you see what I did there? I asked AI for how to ask AI my question. So you can use AI to use AI, which is, you couldn't use Excel to use Excel. PowerPoint can't teach you how to use PowerPoint. Email can't teach you how to use email. AI, strangely, can teach you how to use itself if you think to ask. Go to your language model of choice and just say the following. Hey, you're an AI expert. I would love your help and a consultation with you to help me figure out where I can best leverage AI in my life. As an AI expert, would you please ask me questions, one question at a time, until you have enough context about my workflows and responsibilities and KPIs and objectives that you can make to obvious recommendations and to non-obvious recommendations for how I can leverage AI in my work. You will have one of the most enlightening and illuminating conversations you ever had. And it's all because of AI's ability to evaluate its own work. What I've seen is non-technical employees are able to do incredible things. Here's one example. The National Park Service called me and asked me if I would conduct a training program for a bunch of backcountry rangers. So they gathered a group of about 60 backcountry rangers and facilities managers into a training session. And I spent a couple of hours over Zoom teaching folks the basics of collaborating with AI. One of the people in that session was a gentleman named Adam Lane, who works at Grand Canyon National Park. And one of the things I say is you should focus on parts of your work that you dread, parts of your work that you don't enjoy, that you think, oh, I have to do this again. And Adam said, if I have to replace the carpet tiles in the lodge, I have to fill out all of this paperwork. And so to replace the carpet tile will sometimes take 2 or 3 days of paperwork. Then he thought, could AI help me write that paperwork? And in 45 minutes, he built a tool with natural language that saved him 2 days of work every day he makes the work. And then was there. Someone got access to that tool and shared it across the other parts, about 430 parts of the service. The National Park Service is estimating that the tool that Adam built in 45 minutes is going to save the service 7,000 days of human labor this year. That's the kind of impact that normal professionals can have even without any technical ability, if only they're given very basic foundational training. People are wanting to learn AI and how it can be transformative to their business, but they don't have the basic language. And so while lots of organizations are asking you, how can we work with AI to transform our business? Whereas the start with it is, how do we work with AI? The research I'm familiar with suggests that while on the one hand, AI makes people 25% faster and 12% more work and 40% better quality. It's I've never even dreamed of. I've been doing this stuff for 2 years, and my students are regularly coming to me with use cases I've never imagined that later than a destination I could have never predicted, and they can never predict. For me, I never thought about myself as a creative individual. Now I fully and fundamentally believe every single human being has innate creative capacity. Every single one of them. What the D School has helped me do is unlock others. Everyone has this latent creative capacity. Once I was teaching a class with a hip hop artist named Lecrae. He's a multi-time Grammy Award-winning artist. And he and I are teaching a class, the graduate students at Stanford, and we're giving them the assignment, you've got to go get inspiration in the world. And what I can see is it's like looking at myself in the mirror 10 years ago, because all of the business school students in the class are going. Lecrae is clearly the creative legend in the room. I said, Lecrae, what do you think about inspiration? And of course, there's only a hip hop artist to do. He dropped the bar. He said, inspiration is hip hop. And I realized at the moment, for these students, it's not even on their radar as a tool, let alone a routine part of their life. But the most wildly creative individuals I know are disciplined about cultivating the input they're thinking because they know it's the outcome of it. So even in regards to facts, I push people, what is the inspiration you're bringing to the model? Everybody has the same access to the same ChatGPT. How do I get a different output than you do? It's because of what I bring to the model. And what do I bring to the model? Certainly I bring technique. I also bring my experience. I bring my perspective. I bring all the inspiration I bring from the world. That's what gives a user a differential output from the mind. A seventh grader in Ohio, who I don't even know what her name is. But her teacher asked, what is creativity? And she put a poster up on the board that says, creativity is doing more than the first thing you think.
Here that creativity is doing the more than the first thing you think of. And that is what AI does. It gives you the first thing it can think of, and that is not good enough. This guy's got some good.
And that's my favorite definition because it speaks to a profound cognitive bias that we hold. It's been called functional fixedness, it's been called the unskilling effect, but the basic premise is humans tend to fixate on an early solution and be satisfied. Herbert Simon called it satisfaction. So the idea is if we get to good enough, it's enough. And that's why I love that seventh grader definition. Creativity is doing more than the first thing you think. It's pushing past good enough. Here's the definition of creativity changing in the age of AI. I don't think so. The reality is with AI, it's now easier than ever to get good enough. If your goal is low class, if your goal is exceptional, then what you want to be prompting for is actually volume and variation. That takes time. And it takes time to not only read through it, but to sort it and to process it. But fundamentally, the definition of creativity doesn't change. It's just that the human ability or inability to arrive at a creative state is affected not only by the technology, but also by their stated or unstated objectives in collaborating with it. Creators don't need to be afraid of it. Creators need to dive in and they need to lean in. Creators are about to be unleashed in a way they've never been unleashed before. The only correct answer to the question, how do you use AI, is I don't. I don't use AI. I work with it. When you start working with AI, it will change everything.
That was really.
I've always been.
So, I believe we can't go beyond 4:30. Thank you. I wanted to go to your files, and there is a link, AI link called redact.ai. Go there. You have to just give your email account. I mean, all of them ask for your email account. So once you give your email account, you're allowed to do a few free trials. Now, I want you to quickly think about a topic that you would like to publish in LinkedIn tomorrow morning. Open now Stop staring at me, there's no time. Open it, fast. Look at Redact, sign up, open page, first page, will try to give, suggest ideas to you. Take that. Because when you go that group, it's exactly what you're saying, you think, first idea. Look at Redact and compose in your mind, compose something you'd like to publish in LinkedIn, which is meaningful, interesting, your own point of view. Write 100 words and then ask AI that to expand on it. In about 10 seconds, it will expand everything. First, ask you questions like, do you want to be playful? Do you want to be academic? So it's trying to understand what tone of voice your writing should be in. Once it understands that, it will give you 3 options. You look at the 3 options, choose the one you like best, and edit it. After you edit it, go to the calendar, say post it tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And all of you will have your first article on LinkedIn, absolutely valid, ethically correct, and your own original work. So let's do this. We have 15 minutes to understand how to work with it. You can take it home and finish the job. But first, I want to hear from you quickly, if anyone wants to share, what is the concept behind it? So I had talked about ethical use of AI, and I talked about how AI is not the problem. We human beings weaponize everything that we get. If you give me a pen, I'll get something. I want to write a word. That's our nature. And that was my concept. So I wrote 100 words about it. I asked that to help me expand on it. So it got more examples, it told some story, built up on my concept. And then I edited it. So you should jot down some thoughts of the words, should be at least 100 to 100 words. And then ask AI to build it. Yeah, you're not LinkedIn, asking for LinkedIn address because it wants to understand your style, it wants to understand your needs, it wants to understand your background. There's nothing wrong with it. It's trying to understand your mindset. Because your LinkedIn profile can tell what you're interested in, what you publish, what you like. So it's trying to merge with your persona. I've used it 4 times. Absolutely valuable. So does anybody have any concept that they want to explore? You can write it in point form, you can create a paragraph. Is there something you want to share with some exciting about so you know it, all of you guys have been publishing articles in LinkedIn. There'll just be a huge flood of MLIT PhD student articles and you can say, wow, something here. I'll give you 10 minutes. And then I want to play you very important last 2 videos of creative stupidity. Very high creativity, but absolutely stupidity. I must end the session with that. Yeah. Yeah. It will yeah, that child isn't seen as a
Okay, like.
Now go back. What is the next thing? Yeah. Got it. Let's go. That's coming. Acceptations.
But like here is the issue, so I am not. Suppose both I want
What's the study? See, it's like. Okay, go down. Yeah. Yes. I'll go back now. Anyway. If you speak up, your profile. Now, now it's giving you suggestions. I think, Steve, would you like to? That's it. Pick the profile. Yes. Go down. Hold on, we can do that. You can do it later. See, now you got this now. You already is now. What a place you're for. Yeah. What would you like to post? This is very, detailed because now you'll be writing. You can post. But you should. So I always like, I personally, personal word, the personal glamour, my style, right? Then I edit it, it's too late, some people say like, I'm the professor, I believe I just remove that kind of. So you monitor. Maybe kind of the feeling of the body, like, what was. Yeah. We should. I don't want to think. Is everybody, working well? You should not pass the path where you go into studies your profile, studies your background. Yeah. Now, you should this create your own town. So, people suggestion. Right. But really, pick up all your LinkedIn. So, some people suggestions and things. Otherwise, you can write your own pen. I mean, I could give it. Suggestion. Slowly words. Something. Yeah, then you can then what is posted. You can put it in the calendar, time and date and yeah, on its own. You can search it that.
So where I think. Let's create your first post.
I'm going to play you two videos. What happens when we use imagination with no meaning? We talked about creativity with meaning and creativity without meaning. So this is a very popular person called Kelly Elledge on Facebook. The music is done in Suno.ai. This is her work. You decide whether it's creative stupidity or not, okay? Carry on watching this. So this is visual, I mean, it's like, but I don't know what the hell it's all about. So it has no meaning, but it's very high in data against kind of thing we should avoid. It's just because the technology allows her to do this. And if you go to some of the AIs that do this kind of thing, and she pays money for it, so she's got maximum filing power. It makes no sense. So this is another one by her. Even Suno AI. Want to play any more of it? Goes on and on. So what is the Suno.ai? This is another link I've sent you. Maybe when you go back today, we don't have time, go to Suno.ai. And I want you to try this exercise out. We just don't have time. I would have gone with you. So I want each one of you to imagine in 100 words the lyrics for a song. Don't write the lyrics because you can't write the lyrics. That's fine. But let's say there is this beautiful chair which fell in love with this table. But the table rejected the chair, and I want you to write me, you should put that, and I want to write a song about how the chair got rejected by the table and died waiting for her. Okay? And tell Suno to write me 2 verses and a chorus. In 5 seconds, it will write the most beautiful song, heart-rending song about the chair and the table. Once you have it down logically and say what kind of genre of music you want. Once you do that, it has a new addition which asks you whether it can improve your prompt. It's very interesting. So it reads your sentence, reads your text matter, reads your lyrics, and suggests to you the kind of instrumentation it should build from the emotion it's feeling. Very interesting. If you say yes for the first time, just to get a feel, within 10 seconds, you will have 3 entirely built songs. It will also ask you what female voice you want. You can say, I want a husky female voice. You can say, I want a kind of a popish voice. You can say, I want a voice like Madonna. You can say whatever you like. Play with it, right? I want a voice like whoever. You can write Hindi lyrics. You can write a Hindi paragraph and ask it to write lyrics in Hindi. It can even do that. Or you can write Hindi lyrics and post it, and it will visualize it for you. And say, I want a Bollywood kind of a feel. It will do that for you. And in 10 minutes, you can say, I worked on my first song in Sono.ai. So I hope to see you do some things like that, because you don't have to get into AI. Okay, so do you have intent? If you approach AI with intent and with an objective and with a clear perspective of what you're trying to do, AI can really work hard for you. But if you go with no intent, AI will just do complete nonsense and make a fool of you. Okay, so that is my concluding statement. Do you have any questions? 4:29, 1 minute to go. No questions? How great I am, a clap for me. No? So, good. I hope to see some of you become my LinkedIn friends so I can read your LinkedIn posts, right? Because I would like to read some. Well, how you benefited from this whole session? I would like to read your posts. I can tell you what I think. Okay. Thanks. All the best.
Thank you so much, sir, for this insightful and meaningful discussion. And your lecture not only helped us understanding the artificial intelligence, but also like how technology and creativity go hand in hand. So thank you so much, sir, for this lecture. I hope everybody enjoys.
Online participants, we are done for today, and we'll join tomorrow at 9:15 sharp with new sessions and new learning experiences. Thank you for being with us. Have a nice day ahead.